you don't know for sure. Many people don't know for sure that the person they've been with or are with, or a parent or a sibling lots of people know, lots of people don't know for sure, because these people, a lot of them are undiagnosed. So what does this mean for you? If your ex is undiagnosed, not diagnosed BPD, but like you're seeing and experiencing all this pain, all this behavior, the general your core patterns, not everybody with BPD is the same, but the core patterns of a borderline or a narcissist, untreated. And this is your experience every day, whether you're with them or not. If it's an ex now, you're ruminating, you're thinking about what you can do. Do you really need to know if they are diagnosable, or if they would meet and fit a diagnosis and get the label? Do you need to know that to take care of yourself today? That's the question, and I want you to think about that as I go into two comments actually, from the same commenter about this very subject. And by the way, I'm just passionate, so I'm going to try to, calm it down. But I'm passionate, I'm not angry or anything. So, person left a comment to the video I did, BPD breakup, want a do-over, forgiveness, question mark. Want BPDX back, question mark, codependent, unhealthy focus. That's a really packed title, isn't it? And I'm trying not to do videos on 16,000 subjects at a time, like in one video. But that just all kind of came up. So anyway, to that video, a commenter commented, I have been no contact for 4 months. My ex isn't diagnosed and is untreated. Those two things kind of go together largely, yes. It ended because we couldn't agree on having children. How incredibly important and core is this, right? Like, it could have ended for some other disagreement reasons, for a million other ways, for this person, for yourself, whatever is going on in your life right now with somebody with BPD or NPD, or you think has BPD or NPD, other than the subject of children. But wow, that's a big one in these relational dynamics for sure, isn't it? And by the way, I do come from a narcissistic, dysfunctional family of origin, wherein I was the child of predominantly a covert narcissist mother with some BPD traits, and a malignant narcissist, psychopathic, and yes, dark triad father. So no child needs to be born into these kinds of situations, just saying. Sometimes it happens, right? But when you know that there's all these patterns ahead of time, and you're still thinking about the possibility of children, even in the remote future or 5 years from now, that's got to be a heavy weight for people. But it's also something that people really should be extremely, well through a healing and recovery journey, and working with a professional to really have a sounding board for those kind of life choices and decisions. And this commenter said, it ended, because we couldn't agree on having children. I'm so close to contacting her and giving in. Emotions, right? Brutal, aren't they? So close to contacting her and giving in and saying yes to having a child. And to the commenter, all I can say is, I really, really hope you don't do that. For your sake, and for any child that you would want to bring to this earth, for their sake. This is huge. I understand that. And I feel for you. But as I go through this, it's not going to be the shortest video I've ever done. As I go through this, I want to say to the commenter, or anyone that resonates with this specifically, don't sell yourself short this way. And please don't go forward with this. Get professional help, because you don't want the responsibility, later the regret and the agony of dealing with a child who comes into a relationship where one partner is highly suspected of having BPD, but you do say, we'll get to it, that you don't know for sure. And so then there's what you're feeling. And that really matters, commenter. And anyone else out there who's in any iteration of, you'll be able to resonate with this, whether it's about children or not children, but just getting back with the ex. How you feel is really, I don't know how you feel. But some of the feelings you likely are grappling with is been no contact for 4 months. You really have this urge to get back with her and to communicate with her again. And then maybe you'll give in to have the child because you think that's going to make the relationship work. It isn't. Because then 2 minutes or 2 days or what, even before, and if you're working on having a child, let's say she gets pregnant really quickly. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see this unravel for a million other reasons. And it's not just about whether you want children or not, or whether you feel she's stable enough to have a child, or that your relationship is stable enough yet to have a child. It's not just about that. I can promise you that based on patterns and 33 years of working with people in this area. So your feelings are incredibly strong, and they're your feelings. And I don't want to in any way invalidate your feelings, but what I would say to the commenter and anyone that resonates with this is why people need to get into the healing recovery journey I'm always talking about. Yes, I'm out here to work with those I resonate with, but not everybody's going to choose to work with me. That's fine. Just find yourself somebody that is trustworthy and that has your best interest at heart in working with you. Because, your feelings are guiding you, and they're throwing you around, and they're in the way of you making the best rational decision here. And I'm not even going to say what is that necessarily over all time. Is it because I don't know you? But you have codependency, as I think you admitted, you said in your comment, some are commenter, and so many other people do too. If you resonate with this kind of struggle about the BPDX, whether you want to have children or not, whether that's been a contentious issue or not, you owe yourself this. You must, obviously, I can't tell you what to do. But out of self-respect and out of care and concern for yourself first and foremostly, you need your own healing recovery journey. You need to explore this with somebody. I'm saying this directly to the commenter and anybody that resonates. Do that first. Don't make contact first. And what is this big challenge for people with codependency? This is like the following your feelings. This is all tied into how you got codependency in the first place, and your woundedness from childhood, and that lost, wounded and really in pain inner child inside of you. So the commenter continues that I'm so close to contacting her and giving in and saying yes to having a child. I understand your feelings, but that would be utterly tragic. I just don't know how else to explain that. And you said, I want her back. Quite understandable. She always called me her soulmate. I can promise you, you're not soulmates. But you have to figure that out, right? My saying it isn't going to change your mind or how you feel, and nor do I intend for it to. And the other thing is, I just want you to think about this. Stop. Really work this out with a professional. And if you are doing that, then pause the whole thing, which is really, really difficult. Feels impossible for people. But again, when you're the codependent ex of somebody you think has BPD, but they're not diagnosed, do you need to know? You can't follow your feelings. Following your feelings isn't healthy. It's not in your best interest. It's not in the best interest of your ex, who's people with BPD are all over the map with their feelings. Don't forget about the overlap between codependency and borderline personality disorder. And it doesn't mean I'm saying, hey, codependency, you all have BPD. No, but there are overlapping traits and there are overlapping struggles. And they don't happen the same way for most people with codependency as they manifest and show for people with BPD. But they're there. And the commenter says, then there were times where she pushed me away so easily, like I didn't have much meaning to her. Yes. And this would be evidence of borderline or borderline-like, because she's undiagnosed, right? Patterns of push-pull, push-pull, push-pull. because they want you, they want to be with you, they want to have a child apparently, but only sometimes, right? And the rest of the time, when they get triggered to dysregulated emotion often, which is not your fault as a codependent or this commenter or anyone else that resonates with this, then that's not what they want. And to the commenter specifically with this whole thing revolving around giving in to have a child or not, you need to realize that this is her red herring of the day, of the time, of months, in your no contact for 4 months and in the relationship prior, and now you think you just want her back, you want to go back. Whether there's going to be a child between you two or not is the red herring. And please know I say that with empathy and respect, because not often would I call the possibility of bringing a child into the world a red herring. But in this situation, what I mean by that is it's not all about whether or not you will have a child or you will give in to have a child when you know it's not a stable situation to have a child. So your codependency commenter is kind of blinding you to what's going to be best for a right now not conceived, not coming into the world, not here yet child. So you need to take care of yourself enough to be able to make a better choice for an unborn, not yet created child. But mostly for you first. And then, yeah, so you're going to have a lot of meaning. She's going to say you're her soulmate, and then you're going to have no meaning. And that is a pattern of somebody with borderline personality disorder, what you're experiencing from her. It's a pattern. Can't say that means she has BPD or not. She probably likely did. You're probably not wrong, but the point is, I don't know for sure. And then the commenter says, I keep writing up letters to send to her and then not doing it, or either redrafting the letter. I'm trying to be careful with how I word things. Now, let me just add in here to the commenter and anyone that resonates with this. There is no right way. There is no, quote, careful enough way that you can word things that's going to change the ultimate reactions, the up and down, the roller coaster ride, the walking on eggshells, and the reality of this woman in your life, or who you want back in your life, and for many out there, a man or a woman, it's not going to change the reality of their instability, whether they're diagnosable with BPD or not. There's no way to word things to fix what really is at the base level happening for this commenter with, quote, thought to be borderline X, unquote. The main point of the letter is me asking for consistency, stability, and communication. Wow, I feel for you. And I feel for any other codependent who's still in this place too. Because you know what? You could write her 10,000 letters and you could ask for consistency, stability, and communication. But from what you said, and you've been on live streams of mine before, commenter, and you've shared much, and I kind of remember when people comment again, I don't remember in the interim, but then I will recall details and or look back at a live stream once in a while. I didn't in this case. But the point is, you're asking somebody with the patterns of BPD that you have described over time on this channel in ways, to be consistent, stable, and to be more effectively communicative. That's where you have to realize your powerlessness. You're not going to change what this woman can or cannot do with consistency, stability, or communication. And asking for it, or demanding it, or harping on it, or talking about it for years isn't going to change it. She has to go to therapy for many, many years to change that. And I guess for this person, it would start off with being assessed. But here's the thing too, do you need to know if they are diagnosable with borderline personality disorder when you're seeing all the patterns? I would suggest you don't. And I would suggest that when you're being mistreated, when you're experiencing pishy, never mind. When you're experiencing push-pull and all of the other things you're talking about, one minute you're her soulmate and then you have no meaning to her. Well, these are patterns, and this is treating you in a very toxic way at the very least, right? So you need to find some self-respect, because you have codependency. It's very difficult. You got a lot of feelings going on. You want to be with this person, but they're not healthy enough to be with, whether they'd be diagnosable with BPD or not. Now, probably they would be, just saying. And asking her not to randomly push me away. Asking her to tell me how she feels so I can help her. I'm sorry, this is the recipe. This is the dynamic between the codependent and the borderline undiagnosed or diagnosed. These patterns are very obvious. Maybe it's not so obvious to you, commenter, but I think you know. And I think other people know, but you want to go past all of that because your feelings are so strong. And your feelings aren't just the feelings for this person at all. Or being back with them, and as you just said, you just want her to be consistent, stable, and communicate with you, but she isn't and she can't. And she won't be able to without a lot of treatment, whatever her issue might be. And then you said you want to ask her to stop pushing you away. Well, of course you would like these things, but you're not with somebody healthy enough to give them to you, to meet you in the middle with them. And you want to ask her to tell you how she feels so you can help her. Well, healthy relationships wherein people are considering bringing a child into the world, sure, people support each other, but it has to be one independent person with another independent person to develop the healthy love of interdependency where there's give and take and mutuality and reciprocity, but not rescuing, not helping in the sense of how I'm reading you. So she needs to tell me what she feels so I can help her. So do you think you're just an emotional regulation pad? Because like absorbent pad, like a heating pad as a comfort zone of you're just going to absorb all that and help her? That's coming from your childhood. It's codependent repetition compulsion cycles. And you're following your feelings in the here and now, and you're probably not consciously aware of what's driving those feelings from your past. Not to say you don't have certain feelings in the here and now too. And then you say, the commenter says, I say in the letter, the relationship needs to be stable and consistent for the sake of a child. I just want a life together with no more drama. I hear you, but you know what? You're not going to get it from this person. And you can ask, and you can ask, and you can reiterate, and you can talk about this with her ad infinitum if she'll stay in the conversation with you, but it's not going to change her. She's not going to hear you. She's not going to be able to do it, to communicate better than she knows how right now. She's not going to be able to be more stable. She's not going to stop the push-pull. She's not going to be consistent. You can't rescue her, fix her, or change any of this for her and anyone that resonates with this, no matter how badly you want to. I'm sorry to say. And you just want a life together with no drama. That's not possible from what you've been describing, because she is not an emotionally mature adult. So is that BPD? More likely than not, but she's not diagnosed, and you're having a lot of difficulty with that reality. And then the commenter thanked me for my content, and you're very welcome for that. And I hope that this will give you food for thought, and anybody that resonates in whatever way, because it might not be about a child for other people, or the person with suspected BPD wanting a child so badly, and then giving you the impression, because again, commenter, please hear this, the impression that the reason why you got pushed away or discarded or whatever happened is because you won't have a child with her is not. It might have been that moment's reason. But if you go back and you end up having a child with her, there's going to be 100,000 other of these issues, and you're still going to experience all that she's got to give right now, which is instability, poor communication skills, emotional immaturity, lack of consistency, push-pull. And the more that you have to fight for a relationship and fight for love and fight to be seen and heard and fight to get what you deserve to get without fighting for it, mutuality, reciprocity, consistency, healthier love, better communication, You're not even in the realm or territory of love or a soulmate. And I commented back and, just kind of was saying a few things, but trying to also say this person would benefit from getting help, but I wasn't going to try to tell them what to do, and I'm still not trying to tell them what to do. But I think that some of these comments are they come from such incredibly painful, searching places on people's part that I hope this might help the commenter more, but also that others that resonate, right? And so I mean nothing but respect with my comments back to the commenter and with anybody that might be watching this. I just want to insert that somebody said on a video of mine, and it's not a big deal or anything, I think 2 videos ago, I don't remember which video, but they said that what I had said in that video was brutal truth. Well, I'm not here to be brutal in any way, shape, and form, but I am all about what's really happening for people and to help people to get into healing recovery processes and find their way through these things, because the answer isn't getting back with the ex, whether they have BPD for sure or you just suspect it, which is a lot, right? And so I just want to say there's nothing about what I'm here to do that I mean or have any intention of being brutal with at all. It's the fact that truth, when people don't really want to know what it is because it hurts too much, truth will always come when it brings with it adversity, questions, pain, goes all the way back to your childhood and why you have codependency now, people in general, not just the commenter. The truth will always feel brutal. So I'm here to give those truths, if you will, to people for them to think about, for them to, work with me if I resonate with you. But again, it's not me telling you what to do. It's me picking out the truths, plural, in the patterns of these dynamics, because I've been working in this area for 33 years and I have my own lived experience prior, and I have on both sides of the cluster B fence, so to speak, and I also have an education, which is like the least important thing, given all my experience working with clients and what I know from my own life experience as somebody who also healed from codependency, among other things. So the truth will always can be perceived as brutal, whether you just think it's the way I say it or not. But I'm trying to help people to face the adversity and to stop the codependent escapism, because you're in codependent repetition compulsion cycles of something that goes back to your family of origin and your wounded inner child. And if you don't do that healing and recovery work first, if you follow your feelings from this moment forward, or in the here and now forward, tragically, you're just not going to be led to where you hope you can get to with this person in the commenters example and other people who could resonate with this. And so then the commenter commented to my comment, thanking me for my response, and said, my dilemma is this. She isn't diagnosed, so I can't be 100% sure she has BPD. If she does, then I will have to accept it, and accept it would never work. If she doesn't, have BPD, I lost my place, then there is a chance to make this work, and hopefully we will talk things through. That's not necessarily true. And commenter, with all due respect, and I really feel for you, and with empathy, and to anyone that resonates with this, that's dichotomous thinking. And it might be a little bit tad magical thinking, because here's the thing. You're having this dilemma about whether she has BPD 100% for sure or not. But yet you're experiencing and living through all the patterns, and you know that you have codependency. I know this person has stated this before in the channel, that's why I'm saying that. And you know that you have codependency, and there's all these patterns. And now, what does it mean that you don't know that she has BPD because she's not diagnosed 100% for sure? That I would put out there for you to think about, and anyone that resonates with this, is still codependent denial and escapism. Because I think you do know. You can't know for sure would you get that label. But the behavior and the pain and the way you've been treated and the patterns and the push-pull and all of that and more that you've shared on this channel, you do know. And if I can be so bold as to say gently to you to think about, are you hiding behind the fact that you 100% don't know as a justification for going forward with what you so badly do want, but isn't, I wouldn't advocate it for you, isn't the healthiest of endeavors? Because this, and for anyone else who might be in this kind of dilemma as well, whatever the situation is, if you're no contact, still with them, on, off, etc., with a person with patterns of BPD that isn't diagnosed, there's so many people out there, ladies and gentlemen, who could be diagnosed with BPD or NPD or many other things, but they aren't getting diagnosed because they won't go anywhere near a professional to get diagnosed. That doesn't take all their behavior off the table. It doesn't change it. And it only changes it, I think, commenter, for you because you want what you want so badly, which is understandable. And you feel like you love this person. And you want to have a child with this person, though you do have misgivings about it's not a stable enough situation. But earlier in the other comment, you said, but you're almost willing to cave. Please don't ever cave on what you do know. So you don't know 100% if she has BPD or not because she's not diagnosed, but you do know enough about the patterns you're experiencing to highly suspect BPD, which I think you're 100% correct about highly suspecting it, and you know that relationship isn't stable enough to bring a child into. So please don't cave. You need to seek professional help to deal with all that you're feeling right now and go through it all. Go back to family of origin. Do this healing work now, because two things really. She doesn't have to be officially diagnosed and carrying a label on her forehead for you to know what you know, but it's that you don't want to know what you know. And you're doubting yourself because you want something else, and that's very real. And your feelings are all wrapped up, understandably, in that end goal. But that doesn't make it the right or the healthiest direction for you, or for you and her to bring a child into this world, for you to cave. And I think this is a dilemma that lots of people might have in different ways. Well, she's not diagnosed or he's not diagnosed, so I don't know for sure. So I'm just going to keep talking to them. Because if they're not diagnosed, or I don't know for 100% sure, as the commenter says, that she or somebody else might say he has BPD, like a woman who is with a man with BPD, would say that. That's a red herring in this. And what do I mean by that? It's not the most important piece of what you have to consider. You have to consider how you're being treated, all the patterns that you have described that fit with BPD, and could she be diagnosed with something else and it not be BPD? I would say, based on what you've shared, highly unlikely. But even if so, you think that because she doesn't have the diagnosis and you don't know 100% for sure, that continually talking to her about these things is going to create a dialogue that's oh so different and healthy and change everything. And commenter, and to anyone that resonates with that, that's not going to happen. Because these patterns that you know and that you're recognizing, they do lead to the end conclusion. You just don't know that 100% for sure. So you're taking that little bit of doubt and you want to give the benefit of the doubt. Give the benefit of the doubt. And when we give the benefit of the doubt, often people do that out of codependency. And that always comes back to bite. Giving the benefit of the doubt when you already know somewhere inside that this isn't wise, that this isn't logical or rational, but you're following your feelings. Quite understandably, and I'm not trying to in any way invalidate your feelings. I just think you need to be doing a lot more thinking, working with someone to help you with that, and not just following your feelings. And I don't think you're going to be able to talk things through with this person. And I would bet, I don't know, that you've tried mightily and many times in the past before you went no contact to talk about things with this person. And they don't sound like they can meet you there. And if they can't meet you there, can we say ipso facto they are borderline? No. But does it matter at that point? Because if you're not, being met in the middle of communication, stability, consistency, emotional maturity, etc., whether or not that's 100% the label she would be assessed with borderline personality disorder or not, that's still a big, that's like 10 or 15 big red flags going, stop, right here, right now. And you probably know this up here. But your emotions, cognitive dissonance, you're following those emotions against what you already know, even if you don't know she's BPD 100% for sure or not. And you said the reason I suspect BPD is the behavior. That's very logical to go on. And when you suspect it, do you not then believe yourself enough to know that the things you mentioned here, push, pull, she can't meet you in a healthy emotional communication, she can't be consistent, she's unstable, not ready for a child, calls you her soulmate, and then you're not important. The push-pull, you have every right to suspect she has BPD, and that's what you need to follow, is you're suspecting she has BPD. You don't need to know 100% for sure, because that's where it's your codependent escapism. You're repeating past patterns from your woundedness in childhood to whatever degree that created the codependency in you, and you really want this to work, but your wanting it to work isn't going to make it work. And that's a sad reality too. Very painful. And so the reason I suspect BPD is the behavior, the on and off again nature of the relationship. You need to stop right there with those red flags. It doesn't matter if she's got BPD 100% for sure. You don't know 100% for sure. What in life is 100% most of the time? You need to heed what you already know. The patterns that you're seeing are still a big red stop sign here, whether she could be diagnosed with BPD or not. You said pushing me away randomly or silent treatment, no accountability, and blaming me for everything. You're laying out all the patterns of borderline personality disorder. So why are you not paying more attention to that than the fact that you don't know 100% for sure because she's not diagnosed? And I would suggest if you think about that, explore that in a healing and recovery process, no matter what else you're going to do in your life with these choices, you'll come to realize that what you know is enough. And it's your codependent repetition compulsion of something you're likely not consciously aware of in your childhood. Who is this borderline woman, suspected borderline woman, ex of yours that you want to get back with so badly? Who is she representing in your life to your wounded inner child? And unless you go through that, to understand that, and to look at that, process that, and heal that, I would suggest don't take another step forward with this woman right now. And the commenter goes on to say, blaming me for everything, accusing me of cheating, berating and belittling me until I lost my temper, which you're responsible for losing your temper, but I hear you, right? It's endless push, 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 blame, hurt, annihilate, and then you react because you're over your limits and boundaries. What about all this, what you're saying, commenter? Can't you just take it on faith? These are all the patterns of borderline personality disorder. You don't need to know for 100% for sure. That's your codependent escapism. That's the escape hatch and your unconscious want to control what you want when she isn't even remotely who you want or who you need. And then accusing me of abuse. Yeah, because you lost your temper. I have so many anecdotes of things she has said and done. And I would encourage you, or anybody that resonates with this right now, stop. Don't write those letters. Don't send those letters. But don't cave in to say, okay, I'll have a child with you. Go to your own healing recovery process first and find out more about how strong your emotions are in spite of all the ways she's treating you and all what you're laying out, which is pattern, borderline personality disorder relating and behavior, you don't need to know anything more than that, commenter. You don't need to know 100% for sure. You need to take care of yourself today. And yeah, that means getting help, because you need to work through why are you still in such emotional pursuit of this person despite all that you do know. And then unconsciously hiding behind, but I don't know 100% for sure. That's codependent denial and codependent escapism, and you wanting what you want in spite of what you already know. You don't need to know more. You don't need for her to have a 100% diagnosis for you to stop and take care of yourself now. And anyone that resonates with this in any iteration as well. And the commenter says, if it isn't BPD, I'll just say sort of like, generally speaking, after all you've described, if she doesn't have BPD, I'd be willing to eat my hat, which I don't think would be a very good exercise at all, but I'm just saying, I think you already know, commenter, and I think a lot of people that resonate with this, you already know. But emotionally, why are you so driven to keep seeking what's going to hurt you even more? And that's what you can find out, at least the way I work with clients. That's what you'll find out if, the commenter or anybody else out there, if I resonate with you and you would want to work with me, now's the time for this commenter, anyway, whoever you choose to work with somebody before you make any more decisions, take any more action steps. You need to understand more deeply inside yourself. I'm just saying, with great respect and empathy, some things that you might be a little bit blinded to right now because you're feeling so strongly and you want this person and you love this person and you want to be with this person. And that's all very human, understandable, heart-wrenching, but it doesn't make it healthy for you or for her or to bring a child into this world. And you said, if it isn't BP, I feel there is still a chance to talk through things and ask the behavior is improved so we can work together to do better. There are things I could do better. I really feel for you and anybody that resonates with this. There's always things that any of us can do better given time in our lives. But against what you've described, get into your own healing recovery process so you can learn to do better, so you can be more consciously aware of something I don't think you might be consciously aware of because your emotions are driving you. That there's a repetition compulsion at play here through your codependency, that you're believing this woman could be your soulmate is predicated on woundedness from childhood and something you need to work with somebody to go back and heal that. And when you do, if you do all that first, it doesn't have to take forever. And then as you're working through that process, then you can reevaluate when your emotions aren't so strong and you balance your emotions with more conscious awareness and information about yourself, your past, why do you feel the way that you feel, then you'll have a much better chance to make a much healthier choice. Which might be the same choice, I doubt it, but whatever that choice would end up being. So there are things that you could do better. Well, please, commenter and anyone that resonates with this, hear me on this. What you can do better, fair enough. But it's not going to change that person. Whether she has BPD 100% for sure or not, I mean, she's got all the patterns of it. And you have laid them out very, in a very detailed way. So, you're not going to get this person to be able to, she might show signs of it if you have this conversation, but it's not going to hold because you're asking for and needing consistency among other things. She doesn't have the emotional capacity to be consistent. She's already shown you that. She can't commit to you. It's like, you're my soulmate. Who are you again? Oh, you don't want to have a child with me right this minute? Well, push away. You're being held emotional hostage by your past and this person that you think you have to know 100% for sure they could be diagnosed with BPD. when you just laid out that, frankly, they really are an undiagnosed person with all these BPD patterns. And whatever you can learn to do better, great for you going forward. But not going to change this person with all these BPD patterns who you're just not 100% sure has it. You're probably 98.9% sure. I think 50% sure is close enough to walk away. Get in your own healing recovery journey and don't go forward and don't cave on having a child with somebody so emotionally unstable at minimum, right? If it is BPD, then I would definitely try and be more understanding about the behavior. You got yourself a gigantic red herring here. You're saying, well, if it is BPD, I don't know though, so I want to keep talking about it because you think you're going to fix it and change it, and you're not. And you might not consciously think like, I'm so smart, or I have so much power that I'm going to be able to do this. You're coming from a really heart place, and it's very, very compelling and painful and confusing, to say the least. Now the commenter says, if it is BPD, then I would definitely try and be more understanding about behavior. We lived together before, and I remember feeling so drained. Another big sign. You don't need her to be diagnosed. Commenter. I remember being so drained and like I was walking on eggshells. The pattern is what the pattern is. You don't need her to have 100% diagnosis for you to know what you already know. You just don't want to know what you already know. Your emotions, the cognitive dissonance, your emotions are over here going, want, need, going this way. But everything else you're saying and what you know up here is going like, but then you have that little hook there for yourself that you created. But I don't know 100% for sure. But now you're saying even if you did know 100% for sure, you'd still be trying to help her, rescue her, fix her, and change the dynamics. You can't do that. You can try, but I mean, nobody succeeds at that. So you live together, yes, and you're walking on eggshells. I would definitely be a lot more patient with her. Oh, so you're just going to give, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. You're going to give unendingly to her more patience and more patience. Well, she hurts you. Push, pull, accusations. You're walking on eggshells. You never know what mood she's going to be in. Is she going to be in base mood and see you and approach you? Is she going to be splitting you to devaluation? But you're now going to be more understanding if it is BPD. Self-sacrifice, self-abandonment. You know, you've already experienced being over your limits to the point where you said you lost your temper, which is like not the worst thing in the world, but it's reactionary, isn't it? And why did that happen? Because you're already losing yourself and you're already not who you were prior to all of this. And that's only going to get worse too if you go forward with this. So you would be more patient with her if we gave it another go. And I would just think, quote, it isn't her, it's the BPD. My reaction is just, I feel for you deeply when you say that. There are probably so many people out there that can resonate with this, but maybe they weren't consciously aware of what they've been doing with this to the degree that you have awareness, but maybe not enough conscious awareness of what this all really means, that it's a big red stop sign in spite of how you feel. You would just think it isn't her, it's her BPD. Her BPD or potential BPD, or if you found out and she was diagnosed with BPD, which I think would happen, BPD usurps people. They don't have an identity. So it's pervasive, and that doesn't mean it's a permanent condition for those that get treatment. But you will experience her, if she was diagnosed, BPD pervasively, day in and day out, like you did, like you already have. And then you think that you can live over your limits and boundaries in a selfless, false, pseudo-selfless, self-abandoning, not even respecting yourself way, Oh, you could then just say it's her BPD, so I'll ignore that part. You deserve so much more than this, commenter, and anybody that resonates with this. You deserve to be loved for who you are, seen for who you are, met in a relational way to the degree that you can give. You too deserve to receive. And you said, as I said, she isn't diagnosed, so I really don't know. That's your codependent denial, and that's you hiding in an escapism hatch. Because, no, you don't know 100%, but I'm here to validate for you that everything you've just shared, and I bet you a lot of other people, if they saw your comment, would be saying the same thing I'm saying. You know what you're dealing with. She is easily likely would be diagnosed with BPD. But you're using the escape hatch of I don't know for sure. And then you've talked on both sides of this. It's like, if you knew for sure, my hope when I started reading your comment was, well, if he knew for sure, which you don't need to, but maybe then he would like stay no contact like he is right now, see all the red flags, stop, get into your own treatment, healing, recovery program process, and go the other way. But you're saying even if it is BPD, you'll just live with it somehow, which can't be done really. It's not healthy. And you think that you can then just say, well, it's not her, it's her BPD, so I'll excuse it. But you're still not going to be seen. You're still not going to be heard. You're still not going to be loved. There's still going to be no attachment. It's still not going to be a stable enough relationship, even if you're in it for 10 years, to bring a child into. And your codependency, with all due respect, is another reason not to bring a child into the world right now, let alone with that woman who you're describing that has all those BPD traits. All of the BPD traits. You don't need a diagnosis to know that the stop sign is right in front of you. And yeah, what do you do with the stop sign and the red flags and all that you know when you still are in the one half of cognitive dissonances, which is how you feel? And it's a codependent repetition compulsion. You need to get into a healing recovery journey so you can establish where's that really coming from in your childhood. Because it really isn't all about this woman. It really isn't, but I know for you it is. And I respect that, and I have empathy for you for that. And you said, as I said, she isn't diagnosed, so I really don't know. But you do know. You do know, I would say to you, with respect. And you said 8 to 16 years would make her either mid-30s to early 40s. I want to send her the letter. Well, you're going to do what you're going to do. You make your own choices in life, but I would advocate that please go speak to someone, work with somebody on this for a little while before you send that letter. The outcomes are either no response, she tells me she's moved on, or she's happy to give things another go. And with those three scenarios, you're not even thinking about you. You're thinking about your feelings and what you want, but you're not thinking about what's good for you. What are you... The outcomes, you're putting the outcomes in her control. You're putting the outcomes in her hands, and she's unstable. Why would you be doing that other than codependent repetition compulsions of a time in your childhood, in your family of origin, where you couldn't do anything but have what was hurting you in somebody else's hands? I think I do have codependency and I need help. But the idea of being with her and looking after her and having a life together is extremely appealing. I hear you. But what about the idea of being with her in spite of what you actually do know, even though then you hide behind the escapism? I mean that with respect. But I don't know 100% for sure. But you do know. Don't need a diagnosis. She doesn't need a rubber stamp of BPD on her head. You already know, as so many other people do too. So you said the idea of being with her and looking after her and having a life together is extremely appealing. Yes, and from a codependent perspective of your woundedness that you haven't healed yet, and that you might not be that consciously aware of what does that mean for you, that looks appealing. But if you could take the time to get into healing and recovery journey first, then you're going to come to find that you don't really feel this way about this person. So, and I might not be the person for you, but I work with people in all of these iterations of utter confusion to help people to be able to process things, to then know whether or not you're making the healthiest decision. But I don't tell people what to do. So if not working with me, I would really, really advocate you work with somebody before you send that letter, before you go any deeper into this. Because what's appealing about that life, I mean this with the greatest respect, right? You're obviously a very intelligent man, but your emotions are leading you astray, and it's a cognitive dissonance. Your emotions are leading you astray from what you know in your intellect. And so when there's that conflict, and as you said, you're in the middle of a dilemma, that's not the time to take action. That's the time to seek help and process and understand more, so you can make the best decisions, even if you don't choose to make different decisions after that process. And then you said, thank you again for your videos, AJ. Oh, you're very welcome for that. And I hope that you'll give this one some consideration, because it's not only a response to you, for you to think about. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm trying to point out that there's red flags and stop signs everywhere, and that you know she has all the patterns and traits of BPD. But because she's not diagnosed, you're letting that be your escape hatch for codependent justifying from your codependency why this is still emotionally appealing to you. And don't forget, your decisions here now are going to impact the lives of children that you may bring into this world. And sometimes I wish, with all due respect, commenter, and anybody that resonates with this, sometimes I wish I could bring you into a group session with the people who already have children with BPDXs. Not all are diagnosed. And the living hell that they're going through as a result. So I hope this was helpful, food for thought. I hope that you might consider what I suggested. Talk this over with somebody. I'm available if I resonate with you. I'm not going to try to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell you what to do in this video. But I think that this has wider application for other people to know and hear. You don't need the person with that suspected BPD to be 100% diagnosed when you 99.999% already know what you know. And then codependence, when I say you're using it as an escape hatch, I don't mean consciously. Your feelings are in the lead. And your logic is like, your feelings are just pushing your logic out of the way. These are codependent repetition, compulsion cycles from your childhood and what you need to know more about. And I would suggest before you send a letter, before you make this choice. And you've already mentioned, commenters, so many other people and people I've worked with over the years, etc. They've had reactions to the person with suspected BPD, but all the traits and patterns and behaviors of, because you're already way over your limits and boundaries. And you're trying to put way too much into this that you think will change or help this person to learn or grow. And this, I don't know 100% for sure she has BPD. So I'm going to try this, but like if we found out she has BPD, then I will just say, well, I'll understand because it's her BPD, not her. Well, when people have BPD or all the traits and patterns and behaviors like you've described about this woman and that you really care about, that alone, you don't need an official diagnosis, like I said. And those are stop signs. And codependents find really, really amazing ways, often unconsciously, to throw out their logic and what they know because the feelings are so much stronger than that. And you want what you want. But commenter and anyone that resonates with this, if you go ahead and send a letter, if you try to talk some more, you're going to get manipulated. You're going to end up impregnating this woman, because if that's really what the red herring for her is right now, then you're going to end up with a child. It's all going to blow up from everything you've said. And you've already lost your temper in a reactionary way, which I'm not saying that's a would-be bad thing. It just happened. It's not the greatest. But you're already not being you anymore, because you're over your limits and boundaries. Be really careful, and I would really recommend a pause and talking this over with someone to at least understand what's really driving all your emotions. Because I'm not going to say none of your emotions are about this woman or your desires and to want to be in a relationship with this woman. But it's not 100% about that. And you know how you're looking for that 100% diagnosis because apparently it's a red herring for you too. But you don't know 100% for sure. So on you're going to go with trying to talk to her over and over about things that you're not going to make any change with in her. You have codependency. Do you know that 100% for sure? Because it's not a diagnosis. But still, can you maybe pay more attention to that? And like I said, talk to somebody about that. And this cognitive dissonance that's driving you, I would suggest, in a really unhealthy direction, that even if things would work out a little bit here and there, you're going to end up devastated. It's not going to work out. So I hope that was helpful for the commenter. I hope that other people can take something away from that. What I shared here in my response, which is just another attempt to provide information. From what I know, I'm not saying I know everything about this commenter, nor would I suggest that or say that I'm telling them what to do. But I do know how people get themselves trapped into these relationships and lives, wherein children come into it, and then the relationships still don't work out. And then you have more and more dilemmas, and less happiness, peace, the things that you deserve in your life, that as a codependent commenter or anyone that resonates with this, you may not really be consciously aware that you still don't feel like you deserve what you actually do want, because you're trying to get it from somebody who can't give it to you. You're trying to have this person change so much, which is all BPD patterns and traits, by the way, that in your codependency, so it can work. And you can't change anybody, and you can't rescue anybody, and you can't fix anybody to make things work. And as for that soulmate dialogue, I don't believe in soulmates. Some people do. But if there are soulmates in life, a codependent, borderline trait, all kinds of borderline pattern person, but without the diagnosis, and a codependent in this is not a soulmate situation, not even remotely. It's very, very unhealthy. And you've already lost yourself in childhood, a part of yourself. And now you're losing even more of yourself because you live together. You know what you're talking about, commenter. You laid it all out. But you're letting that escape hatch up, but she's not 100% diagnosed. I don't know 100% for sure. When you know 99.99999% for sure. Why isn't that enough for you? Why are you still going to chase it? Because these are codependent repetition compulsions. These feelings are coming from somewhere else largely, and they're pushing you in this direction. You need to know more about that before you go forward to make this kind of a choice, as do many other people with maybe different issues as to why the person with all the behaviors and traits of BPD but not the diagnosis is saying, well, I can't be with you unless you do this. I can't be with you unless you do that. I can't be with you unless, like in this commenter's situation, it was really about, I want to have a child now. If you don't want to have a child now, well, but that's only one thing. That's only one big conflict. That's only one red herring. That's only one place she's manipulating you all over the map. That's only one place she's controlling you. And you as a codependent are going to want to talk to her. You're going to want to explore this. You're ignoring the 99.99999% of what you already know because you're in a codependent repetition compulsion and you're not aware of what that means and what's driving that. And this is what's happening to so many people who can't break the unhealthy capital T bond. I really feel a lot for you. I feel a lot for the person that you want to be with and that I guess she wants to be with you, or she's not sure, or yeah, now she wants to be with you. Oh no, then she doesn't. Then she does, then she doesn't. Which is the classic approach avoidance conflict in borderline personality disorder, diagnosed or not diagnosed. And so for anyone else that might resonate with this commenter in whatever iteration of what your situation is, please know, if nothing else, you're not going to change this person. You're going to end up dialoguing so much about what's wrong and not happening in a relationship, you won't be having any relationship on that front either. So many men out there would like to talk to your commenter about what happened with them, with their, well, maybe diagnosed, maybe not, BPD or BPD-like and patterns and traits of exes, and what's happening to their children today and what they're going through as a result. And men have to be specifically extra careful about this. And as a man, I don't know what age you are, but you kind of gave some idea about her age, that seems like you're both a little on the younger side, and you have time to do this work for yourself, commenter. You know, you're a man, you can still find a woman in the future who's going to be in her childbearing years, it sounds like. So anyway, people don't need to know that somebody's 100% diagnosable with BPD or NPD or ASPD or a vast number of other things that can really impact and take relationships out of a healthy, like there's no hope for a healthy relationship, that children really shouldn't be being brought into these situations. And you don't need them to be rubber stamped with a diagnosis across their head. And in this commenter's case, especially when you describe it all. Take care.